Hey, my name's James, and I recently got a question. Has anyone here used Cost Plus, which is a reference to Cost Plus Drugs? Cost Plus Drugs is Mark Cuban's pharmacy. It's been touted in the news that he's there to save customers on prescription costs, and he's much more affordable and a lot cheaper than the current alternatives that are out there. So I'll be sort of answering the question, does Mark Cuban's pharmacy truly live up to the hype? If you guys don't know who Mark Cuban is, he's an entrepreneur, a very successful one. He's also the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. And he recently decided to take on the pharmaceutical industry. One thing I really admire about Mark Cuban is his tenacity. He actually published a book a long time ago called How to Win at the Sport of Business. And I actually read this book and it was quite influential to my own entrepreneurial journey. Sometime around 2022, Mark Cuban decided to challenge the pharmaceutical industry by coming up with cost plus drugs. It's an alternative for a lot of customers to receive discounts on their prescription medications. Well, check out his website, and it's actually pretty cool. He lists off, several medications here, and these, for my professional judgment, seem to be really attractive prices if I was a customer. One thing I want to point out is terms of services under his disclosures. Mark Cuban actually works with various third-party vendors, and one of them actually happens to be TruePill. If you guys don't know who TruePill is a venture-backed mail-order pharmacy, and at one point in time, they were servicing, I think, almost every large telemedicine startup out there. They do partner with HIMSS, I believe, which is, pretty big. But one thing I want to point out is that, Cost Plus Drugs isn't really a pharmacy. It's more of a referral agent for TruePill. But TruePill themselves, they're a venture-backed mail-order pharmacy. And we can actually look this up online. We can actually go to the Board of Pharmacy's website and verify that TruePill is actually a licensed pharmacy here in the state of California. If I were to search the California Board of Pharmacy website for a business name called Cost Plus, you would actually see nothing populates. So again, Cost Plus Drugs, it's not really a pharmacy. It's more of a referral agent. I actually know a lot about the pharmaceutical industry. I've been involved since I've been a child, basically. But I used to own and operate a series of pharmacies here in San Jose. I did very well for myself and exited sometime in 2020. I've also been involved in the assisted living line of business as well. I currently consult for a handful of telemedicine providers, as well as mail order pharmacies on the side. So I think it really comes down to the question is Cost Plus really that cheap? One thing I want to point out is that in general, a lot of generic medications have been cheap well before Mark Cuban has entered into the arena. And the reason I know this is because I've been practicing for that long. But, pharmacy is kind of interesting. It's the only inventory product business actually in healthcare. Healthcare is primarily more of like a service-oriented business. But in this sort of line of business, pharmacy, margin is perhaps the most important metric out there. Sort of what we'll be covering is, how much is Mark Cuban purchasing some of these medications for, and what is he going around and selling it for? But something I would like you to keep in mind is that, on average, independent pharmacies earn roughly about a 20 to 21% margin on all their prescriptions. So you can see here from the first table, you'll see, 5 different drugs that are listed, and it'll show you the cost per tablet through Cost Plus. And then on the far right, you'll see that, this is how much a pharmacy would buy it for. You'll have to take my word for it right now, but I'll show you a way later on how to actually pull drug pricing from a pharmacy. We'll take the first example, atorvastatin 40 milligrams. It's also known as Lipitor. It's used for cholesterol. Cost Plus, Mark Cuban, he roughly gets it for about 3 cents a tablet. Nationwide, most pharmacies probably acquire this for roughly 5 cents a tablet. Mark Cuban turns around to the customer and says, I sell this for roughly 20 cents a tablet if you're getting a 30-day supply. This does not include shipping fees, but I believe he charges shipping as a line item for $5 per batch. Another example would be bupropion 300 milligrams. You'll see that he gets roughly for 7 cents, and nationwide, most pharmacies buy this for about 14 cents. Another example would be lisinopril 20 milligrams. This is used for blood pressure. Cost Plus gets it for roughly a penny a tablet, and most other pharmacies in America would get this for 2 cents per tablet. So it's pretty easy to see, Mark Cuban is, I would say, getting drug pricing relatively at where other pharmacies are purchasing their medications at the same price point. But one thing I wanted to point out is that, if he's selling a Torvastan 40 milligrams as a 30-day supply, it's about an 85% margin. And he sort of covers the way he breaks down his medication costs. I mean, he tells you what the manufacturing cost is. He does a 15% markup on that, and there's a fixed fee of $5 for the pharmacist labor. And shipping is handled entirely separately. But sort of the way to look at this is if you were wanting to save on medication costs, you would want to extend to a 3-month supply, 6-month supply, or even a 12-month supply if it's possible. So you only have to incur the pharmacy labor fee once through his website. So that's pretty cool. But just looking at this as a whole, lisinopril, 30 tablets for 2.5 milligrams at $5.60 plus $5 shipping, that's probably about $10.60. I would say that's sort of roughly in line with how much I would have charged my customers at my own pharmacy. If I were still practicing, of course. So is cost plus drugs really that cheap? I have to say they are, quite cheap, but, I do want to point out that average gross margin for a lot of prescriptions is roughly about 20 to 21%. And the previous examples I gave you, they were anywhere from 70 to about 100%. But something I want to just kind of keep in mind, I want to educate you as a listener, is that as a business owner, a 21% margin on a $1,000 drug is a lot better than a 21% margin on, say, a $10 drug. One thing I want to point out is that, Mark Cuban's portfolio is relatively limited to a lot of different generic medications. And a lot of those generic medications already have a pretty low cost basis. It's my best guess here that, Cost Plus probably has a higher average margin per prescription, but probably the total revenue is much lower per prescription than, say, to other pharmacies that were out there. But, it's sort of in my professional opinion, I have to say Cuban's medications do come out to be cheaper than retail pricing, slightly, but not a whole lot. But I think for a lot of customers, they'll say, well, is this still too good to be true? And one thing that I probably would want to look at is the overhead, the employees, and just the customer service and reviews of this business. So let's see here on Indeed, roughly, pharmacists make roughly about a $51 per hour salary. Don't know if that's true. I see in other reports that's roughly about $65. Regardless, I mean, I do find that to be slightly lower than what pharmacists should be paid for. They do have about 2.6 stars in reviews through Indeed. Poor management and politics is one comment from 2020. It's badly run. That's from a previous pharmacist. And here's a recent review from a pharmacist. This company has lost its way over the last 6 layoffs. It's downsized from 13 to 3 sites in the last year. Yikes. So I know TruePill actually went through a down round, which basically means that their valuation was much lower than anticipated. They had to slash their share price by 90%. They did have quite a few issues. I knew Cerebral was a telemedicine organization that did focus primarily on ADHD and stimulants like Adderall. But unfortunately, I think Cerebral had to go under because they illegally dispense some or illegally prescribe some of these medications. And of course, if for the pharmacy, you have a obligation to ensure that the prescriptions being written by the doctor are authentic and legitimate. So yeah, it seems like that TruePill got in trouble with the DA, which is not fun. One thing I do want to point out, some of my clients, they do work with TruePill, but it's been very difficult to work with TruePill. They haven't been wanting to service some customers while handpicking other customers or other telemedicine providers. It's a very hard business to do mail order. I can tell you that. I'd like to take a look at the Google reviews for TruePill. Again, TruePill is Mark Cuban's dispensing pharmacy here. I would not recommend for any prescription you need to receive timely or reliably. You get what you pay for, and good luck if there's a single issue. Ordered through Mark Cuban Cost Plus, pharmacy screwed up. Both submitted prescriptions, no number to call, and quickly resolved, so you need to email and wait 3 business days. Yeah, that's rough. This lady here gives it 5 stars. Okay, this lady gave it 1 star. Seems that She received a reply from the owner of the business, but goes on to comment and says that reply was bogus. If anyone takes meds for mental health, I would caution them to use this until they figure things out internally. Here's another lady that gives it 1 star. My prescription cost was $10. They've been sending the prescriptions too often, so I turned off my automatic refill for 2 months. When I called back to restart the automatic refill, they wanted to charge me $50 a month and blame it on insurance costs. It's not good. 1 star. Shady, not about buying here, but I know someone who was fired by this company who they decided to just can after simple training for not being up to speed. When I personally know that is not true. They did it to several people. Their rating is low in everything, especially customer service. Companies need to do better. Kudos to Mark Cuban for breaking the mold and delivering transparent low-cost meds and delivering them quickly and effortlessly to your door. They may not have everything and require you to conform to a simplified, no-frills ordering process, but this is a very small price to pay after they all offer meds more affordable. There should be a way seniors can get easy open caps. I can't open the child-proof ones, which they keep sending me on my prescription. Yeah, that's actually a big thing. So easy open caps, typically for a lot of different vials, you actually have to apply pressure downwards and twist it to be open. A lot of seniors, they do have arthritis actually in their wrist, so it's very difficult to apply that downforce pressure while opening the cap. So we usually get requests, at least when I was practicing, for easy open caps all the time. And yeah, that's something, every pharmacy should offer as a benefit, but not everyone does, obviously. Not all. The thing is, like, by law, you're required to have child-proof caps on vials. Obviously, if a child opens it, it's not a good thing. I've been a customer of Mark Cuban's pharmacy for a couple of years. The pricing is great, but the customer service, if you can talk with someone, is terrible. Yeah, it's a lot of 1 stars. And then there's some, like, pretty good stars here. Always on time with my messenger. I think they meant to say medication. They are having supply chain problems. Therefore, I have to fill my prescription at a local pharmacy at double the price. Not particularly happy. Yeah, I mean, there are supply chain problems going on in this industry right now, unfortunately. A lot of it happened because of COVID. A lot of supply has caught up, but a lot of the supply chain problems you actually see are really with oncology medications at the moment. So, kind of in conclusion here, I mean, Mark Cuban, he refers prescriptions to a mail order pharmacy, and he likely receives commission from that sale. Just looking at Google, there's some pretty poor customer reviews. If you're someone who has 5 to 6 medications and a lot of different medical questions, I don't think this place would be the right place for you. If you're relatively healthy, maybe you're only on 1 and 2 medications, then yeah, this place, Cost Plus, might be right for you. But one thing I want to point out is, healthcare requires a lot of face-to-face contact. Going through a referral agent to receive your medications just doesn't seem like the best way to take care of your health. If you're interested in saving on prescription costs and actually earning Bitcoin through those prescriptions, check out my startupnihowdy.com. Thanks.